I'm a full-time artist, and last year I sold over 2,000 art prints that I made right here in my studio at home. And I've been doing this for over a decade. I love making prints, but one of the things that I see all the time on YouTube is people making it seem super easy or giving advice that's just flat out wrong. So in this video, I want to share 4 of the biggest lies about making art prints. So that way you won't fall into the trap of making these mistakes. The first, and I think the biggest lie, is that so many YouTubers are acting like it's super easy to make prints. Like they just go out to whatever big box store, let's say Best Buy, buy a decent printer that says it's a photo printer, they bring it back home, they plug it into their computer, and all of a sudden they click print, and poof, voila, they have these amazing prints. And on the video, they look so nice. But time and time again, people will watch these videos, they'll go out and buy the printers they suggest, and then of course they'll fail at figuring out how to make their artwork match what they're seeing on their computer screen and then what's printed out, because it's actually a process to be able to do this. It's just not a click and print situation. There is a learning process in this, and the YouTubers oftentimes are doing a lot of work behind the scenes and then distilling it down into a video that makes it look really easy. And don't get frustrated with yourself and give up if your prints don't turn out as well as the YouTubers did. Line number 2 is the idea of being able to go out to some place like Best Buy and buy an average mid-grade printer and then have it make amazing, beautiful prints. Now, some of these printers can print fairly well. They're not going to print as well as the professional quality printers that are pigment-based, like the Epson P700 and P900, which is what I recommend. These are professional fine art quality giclée printers. You're not going to be able to get any of these in a store like Best Buy or Office Depot. You have to order them online, either from Amazon or directly from Epson. I have links in the description if you would like to explore those printers, and links to more videos about how to make prints and just my reviews of using different printers and things like that over the years. So definitely check those out. But the main idea here is that those mid-grade printers aren't going to give you the color gamut, the brightness and vibrancy of color, the colors that fade into each other so beautifully and well, that look so much like your originals, like indistinguishable from your original paintings if you do the color editing correctly in Photoshop and you take a good photo of your painting. They're never going to perform quite as well as the higher grade pigment-based printers that I referred to earlier. Also, one other thing that's super important to keep in mind is that pigment-based printers are archival, and the dye-based printers, these are like what you're normally getting from the store. The ink on those dye-based printers will fade much quicker than the ink on the pigment-based printers. And that's why the dye-based ink is not considered a giclée print. It's not considered archival, whereas the pigment-based ink prints are. And so you can charge more money for those. Not only that, but you will have happier customers. Because think about it. Let's say your customer buys a print from you. They hang it in a sunlit area where it's getting lots of UV from the natural sunlight on it, and it degrades it over time. And let's say 5 years, 10 years down the road, they have a really washed out, faded out print because you used a cheap dye-based printer. And then they don't think of you as well as an artist, right? That doesn't reflect the highest ideals and goals for a business, at least in my mind, because I look at selling my art prints as an entry-level point for a potential buyer of an original painting. And if that person is seeing my print fade on their wall, then why would they have any confidence in the archival quality of my paintings? I mean, they probably wouldn't, right? If you get something from someone and it starts to fade, I wouldn't buy from that person again later. I mean, would you? And so that's why I love pigment-based printers, and I rely solely upon them for selling art prints in my business. Line number 3 is that third-party inks are just as good as the inks that you buy from the brand that your printer is. So for example, if you have an Epson printer and then you get some aftermarket third-party ink, that's much cheaper. It saves you a lot of money. If it works in your printer, why not use it, right? I mean, there's a lot of YouTubers telling people to do this and even recommending specific companies to use that make this ink, or how to hack your printer, like to get around the chips that are on the ink cartridges, so that way you can use the aftermarket ink. And please, please, if you take anything away from this video, do not put the aftermarket ink in your printer, because not only will it lead to prints that will most likely fade much quicker than the ink that you actually get from the company who makes your printer, but it will clog up your print head. I had this happen to me on multiple occasions. Back when I first started making art prints around 15 years ago, I was trying to figure out how to save money because I was a broke artist and I needed to use any type of cheaper ink that I could. And I ruined 2 different print heads in one of my Canon printers because I was using aftermarket ink. So please don't do this. You're going to ruin the printer that you spent so much money on just to save a few bucks of ink. The fourth lie is that if your print colors do not match the colors of your painting, then it was a problem with your printer. Like the printer wasn't high enough quality. I've seen several YouTubers remark on this, saying that it was just like an older printer or something that was the reason. But actually, most often the reason your print colors don't match your painting has nothing to do with the printer, and it has everything to do with how you have the color management configured on the digital image that you are trying to print of your painting. It also could be the wrong paper type selected in your printer. So let's say you're trying to print on glossy paper, but then you have it selected that you're printing on matte paper. It's going to change the way the colors look. Another thing is the ICC profile. You might not have the correct ICC profile for your paper configured in Photoshop if you're printing from Photoshop, but more likely is how you're editing that file in Photoshop or whatever digital editing program you're using, and how you're matching the colors, because this is a process. And I have an entire video if you want to learn more about doing that. You can check it out here. Color matching is very doable. It's not super hard, but you do need to have a little skills and kind of learn how. So definitely watch that video if you've been having difficulty matching your print colors. All right, thank you so much for watching. See you next time.